Hey guys, today I'm going to give you examples of a small, medium, and large bookkeeping client, and I'm going to give you specific examples of clients I've worked with and how much I charge them. So in a very general sense, the smallest client I charge $250 a month, the mid-size is $500 a month, and the large client is $1,000 a month, and I'm going to let you know exactly what each of those clients look like. If we haven't met before, I'm Morgan from FinePoints.biz. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell too, and you'll get a video about bookkeeping every single week. All right, so I'm gonna dive right into the small client starting out, and then kind of in the middle of the video, I'll give you some more tips and tricks about pricing. So the small client, my example in this is a preschool, and I'm gonna base all of these examples on clients I have and talk to you guys about that. Obviously, I'm not going to give out my client's exact personal info, so I did tweak each one a little bit, but generally this should give you a good idea of what these clients look like. All right, and the maximum hours I'd work for this client is 5 hours per month. And so if you do the math, you can see that's about $50 an hour. So that's, in the general ballpark of what I want to charge. Some bookkeepers charge a lot more and they think that's crazy to charge that little. So there's a lot of variance within that. And even though I'm going to give you the amount of hours it takes for each of these clients, I don't keep track of my hours. So these are fixed rates, but for some reason, my mind, like working per hour, is kind of related. And I say the max amount of hours is because usually I get this client done quicker than 5 hours. But, occasionally there's like a problem where I have to go digging for something and it takes longer, or there's a special request or something happens, and it will take me the full 5 hours. So I like to kind of calculate my rate based on the max time, but then obviously I'm rewarded if I work more quickly and efficiently. All right, and the number of employees, this preschool employees is 6 teachers, and that's about 100 students that we have in the preschool. In all of these clients, of course, I do the regular tasks of hooking their banks up to QuickBooks Online, categorizing all their transaction, reconciling at the end of the month. But on each of these, I also let you know like some extra tasks that I do. So for this client, I do receipt management, which that's probably the most time-consuming thing that I do for this preschool. A few years ago, they were actually giving me all of their physical receipts and I was organizing them, and I hated that system. So I have been trying as much as possible to get them in a digital system with emailing like pictures of those receipts to QuickBooks, and then it matches it. So let me know in the comments if you'd like a video more about the receipt matching process and how I've kind of fine-tuned that. All right, another extra task I do is write checks for this preschool. So I'm actually a signer on the account. Because it's a pretty small business, I think that's a little unusual for the bookkeeper to be able to write checks and to sign checks. But because it's such a small business, we do have our duties divided a little bit unusually, I think. So the main types of checks I write are reimbursement checks, if the teacher has to buy something with their own money, some supplies or something. And then also sometimes certain vendors will send an invoice and I'll write a check for that. Again, I'm trying to get away from that and train them to use their debit card to pay for any invoices and that kind of thing. And then I also categorize income. So that doesn't take too long, but it is just another step that I do. You can see I talk about that in my recent day in the life video. I'll leave the thumbnail up here and then a link about that down in the description box. But basically, we want to categorize, so we get a lump sum of money and we want to categorize that to see how much income each class is making. So I think there's like 6 or so classes within the preschool, and I want to kind of see like which classes are the most profitable. All right, so that is my small client. I'm going to talk about those same like 5 metrics with the medium and large clients too: the number of employees, their gross revenue, how much time it takes me, and extra tasks. And this was a really requested video because I made this other video about how to calculate how many clients you need to earn a certain dollar amount. So in that video, I used $100,000 per year. And then you can see you need different size, or you need a mix of clients. So maybe you could have like 4 large clients, or you could have like 20 small clients or something like that. So, but in that video, I didn't really explain very much what a small, medium, and large client looks like. And so that's why I wanted to do this video to follow up, because that was a question that a lot of people had. And it is really hard to picture when you're first starting out, kind of like what the different types of clients look and feel like. So in this video, you put how much you want to earn at the top, and then you can type in different amounts of clients. If you have 2 small ones, then it'll calculate that, and then you can add different amounts, different sizes of clients. And then I also have a section for either if you're calculating things hourly or if you're calculating things with fixed rate pricing. So definitely check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. So your question probably is, when you're onboarding a client, this small, medium, or large client, you might not know how much time it's going to take you or, exactly what the tasks are going to look like. So again, there's many different schools of thought on this. There's different like bookkeeper spreadsheets you can get. Bookkeeper Launch, the class I'm taking now, and then I've reviewed a couple times, they have a really detailed spreadsheet, and it's like, I'm doing this task, so I'm going to charge $50 for that. I'm doing this task, I'm going to charge this set amount. And so spreadsheets like that are really helpful. I think I've seen a video of Seth David too. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. And he has a really good spreadsheet kind of talking about how a task can be tied to a dollar amount. I totally understand when you're first starting out, it's hard to kind of get a grasp on that. So that's why I do put it somewhat in terms of hours worked and like think about your hourly rate. Because of course you probably have in your mind a certain hourly rate you want to be working at. Like you're not going to be a bookkeeper if you're making like $10 an hour. Like that's probably not what you got into this for. So if you are having trouble deciding how much to charge someone, I think it's perfectly fine to start out working with them at an hourly rate, especially because at the beginning there might be cleanup, which could take a really long time. And then also you're just learning their business. So you don't really know, again, you don't know what tasks you're going to be doing. You don't know how long things are going to take, or maybe they're really disorganized. And so things are like a bigger headache than you really thought they were going to be. So obviously there can be a lot of variance. I mean, a client can have the same like gross revenue and then, can take way different amounts of times. And same with transactions. Like I don't really ever count transactions. Like that's not really something I look at. I think it's like an older mindset for bookkeepers to kind of like charge per transaction. But I mean, now with bank feeds, the difference between like 100 transactions and 200 transactions really doesn't take me that much more time necessarily to do. It just takes a little more time, but that's not like the number one thing driving the time that I'm spending as a bookkeeper. So again, if you have a new client that's hard to figure out how much to charge, start hourly, work for a couple months, see what the scope is. Then you can send them like a proposal or a contract that tells, what exactly tasks you'll be doing, spelling that out, and then how much they need to pay each month. And I also get asked how I charge clients. Right now, I just use the function through QuickBooks Online. Like I send them an invoice through QuickBooks and then I use the QuickBooks Pay. And there are some fees for that, but I think it's pretty competitive with the market value. So that's just easiest for me because I'm already in QuickBooks. I'm already making an invoice for a client in QuickBooks. And then when they get that in their email, they can just click pay through that. And it's kind of automated. So that's what I like to do. All right, so moving on to the medium-sized client. So this is a law office and I charge them $500 per month. And I want my max hours that I work for them is to be 10 hours per month. And the gross revenue for this business is $800,000, and they have 7 employees, which includes their attorneys and then their staff as well. And then the extra tasks I do for these guys is bill pay. And you can use different programs to get electronic copies of bills. They can be emailed to you if there's no confidential information on there. I think there's a program called HubDoc you can use. I also tried out Bill.com with this client, but I actually didn't love Bill.com. I think it's probably great for some situations, but this we just often use the bill pay through the bank. A lot of banks will give you that service for free, and so that's what we have been using at this point. And the next thing I do for this client is similar to the preschool. I categorize their income. So they break down their income per lawyer that makes that income. So they want to track like how much money each each lawyer is making. So that, I think I did talk about this a little bit more too in a different day in the life, an older day in life. So I'll link that as well. I have a lot to link today. All right. And then the other special task I do is assist with payroll. So I do not offer full service payroll as a bookkeeper. I don't do payroll in QuickBooks, but my clients have a payroll service. And then sometimes there are certain tasks. For this client, I do some tallying of their of the hourly employees' amounts, and then talk about how much is deducted for their health insurance and their retirement savings. So I just fill out the spreadsheet and then I send it off to the payroll thing. So it probably takes me a couple hours per month because we just do payroll once per month. So that's again something that you kind of just need to work out with a client. Like they might already have a payroll system going and someone's doing it. So there might be parts that you want to take on, or if you don't want to touch it, like that's possibly an option if they don't need you to. So that varies a lot per client as well. All right, and then my large client example is a physical therapist's office. So they are kind of like a medical office. They have speech pathologists that work for them, and then they have kid clients who come in. And so I charge them $1,000 per month, and then it should take me less than 20 hours to complete their stuff. Their gross revenue is $1.2 million per year, and they have 10 employees. And the thing that takes the most time with this client is the invoicing. So they have a system outside of QuickBooks that is HIPAA compliant, which HIPAA is the rules that in the United States you need to follow with patient information if you have like some kind of medical information about your patients. So they have a HIPAA compliant system that they enter all their information about their clients in, and then it goes to the patient's insurance first. And then usually there's a leftover balance that I have to charge the patients. So I send out invoices to each patient. So I have like a big list of their patients. I look up into the system how much we're supposed to be charging them. You know, maybe the appointment was $300, $200 were covered by insurance, and then they still have to pay $100 or whatever it is. So it does take me a lot of time to invoice them. I collect payments through their payment processing. They have a payment processing system set up already. And then when payments come in, they come in electronically, and I have to apply it to the invoice. And I'm never in their physical office, so if someone pays in cash, for example, they have a system of making a bank deposit in person and then recording it within the system so that I know, oh, that person paid their $100 in cash. I don't have to worry about that. It's already taken care of. All right, and then the last kind of like little specialized task I do for this client is create 1099s. So 1099s are at the end of the year during tax time, you need to send anyone who works for you who's as a contractor a special form. So as an employee, like a regular employee, you would get a W-2 at the end of the year, or basically in January, and it shows your wages for the previous year. So as a contractor, maybe if you have a janitor who works as a contractor, or someone who works in their own time doing like home visits, or any kind of like specialized things like a bookkeeper, I'm a contractor, an accountant would be contractor. So I do prepare their 1099 forms, and that's nothing that glorious or exciting. It's just kind of like a tax form that you have to fill out like some information on. So it doesn't take super long, but it is kind of like a little specialized thing that I do, and that's just once a year. And then of course, like I mentioned before, every client I am categorizing their transactions and reconciling their bank accounts at the end of the month. And I think most of these clients mainly just had 2 accounts, like a checking and a savings. The lawyer, the middle-sized one, does have a trust account, which is a place where they keep like client money. So that's kind of like a whole nother situation. So you can also, when you're thinking about pricing, think about if your client has like 10 bank accounts or a lot of credit cards, that is going to take you more time, and therefore you should charge a higher rate for those clients. A thumbs up does help me out a lot if you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about clients and what other videos you'd like to see. And I'll try my best to link all those videos I mentioned in the description box and any other ones I think you might find helpful that's kind of related to this subject. Thanks so much. Bye.